Welcome to What Works, where nonprofit leaders share their successes and their passions around the work that they're doing. I'm your host, Marla Moody, and today we're going to talk about affordable housing and helping people with neurodiversity. Our guest is Edward Amey. He is the CEO of Jay Nolan Community Services. It's a little more complex than that, but I thought Edward would be able to express it better. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. Edward, thank you for joining us and welcome to What Works.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We were discussing ahead of time that there's more than one organization. So tell us a little bit about the community center and what's important for us to know as we get started.
Sure. Actually, I've kind of started calling us the Jay Nolan family of companies. Quick history lesson is we're actually celebrating our 50th year here in 2025. So the original organization was a group of parents called themselves the Autism Society of Los Angeles. Now, there is one now, completely unrelated, but at that time, that's what they were called. Then they came into contact with the actor Lloyd Nolan. He's a contemporary of Gene Autry and Bing Crosby, those guys, a character actor. But he was one of the first Hollywood personalities way back before most people even knew what autism was. In the early 70s, comes out public and says, like, I have a son with autism. He kind of became the face of the organization. It was really exciting, but they renamed the organization in honor of Lloyd's son, Jay. So we've had the joy and pleasure of carrying Jay's name for decades now, and it kind of holds us to our roots of being trailblazers, being pioneers. Where Lloyd was like, look, I have a son with autism. I'm not going to hide him from the world. Which was unusual at the time.
Yeah.
So in the last few years, as we've branched into different strategic initiatives to continue to support more people with neurodiversity throughout California, we actually created two subsidiaries, Jay Nolan Recreational Services, which runs a fully inclusive camp. This is a unique camp. I have not found anything like it in California, and I've looked. There's lots of summer camps. You can any kind of niche you want. But there is no camp out there that says, hey, I'm going to bring kids who are neurodiverse and kids who are neurotypical that normally wouldn't be able to attend camp because of their socioeconomic status. We're going to bring that group together. We're going to go off to the mountains together. So for a week, they spend time out there, and it creates new relationships, it creates new experiences, and it breaks down sort of those psychological walls and stops with the whole those people or them. So I hate that. In fact, my goal, if I could wrap everything I do up in one sentence, it's I want to change the language that people use from those people to my neighbor. Because neighbor it's a powerful word. It's a word with accountability. It's a word with care. It's a word with relationship embedded in it. So we set about doing that. The other organization we spun off was Jay Nolan Community Housing. That is to have a housing initiative, which we call Housing for All, where we create an opportunity for there to be affordable housing for folks that are neurodiverse, but living in community with folks who are neurotypical, just doing life. And again, breaking down those barriers, those preconceived notions, and hey, that's just my neighbor. So we have an apartment building we own down here in Southern California, in Glendale, and we're in the process of purchasing an opportunity up in Northern California. And again, creating those opportunities where people just live and work and do life together, whether they're neurodiverse, neurotypical, or however anybody defines themselves. So we've done that, and that's why I call it the Jay Nolan family of companies, because each one has its specific purpose. But the original sort of heart of it is Jay Nolan Community Services.
And I love that word family. You could have done it in different ways, but a few of the things you talked about was people would used to hide and now they're open. Hiding always has shame to it.
Right.
And shame, it makes us small, makes us less of who we are, gives us bad mindset. So the idea that there was no reason to hide anymore. I also heard the word community. And that concept of they're my neighbor, they're not the other. So there's understanding. It just removes so much of those biases that would allow a community to even work better. So
Right.
I love that you use, in your cluster of three of the nonprofits, that it is bound together by people.
Right. Yep, that's the glue. I mean, we are designed to be in relationship. Human beings need to be in relationship with other people. We're just Now, that's not there's a lot of people out there like to say, well, I don't like a lot of people. I like to be by myself. Yeah, I know that. But there's still times when you need to have connection. We're all built that way. Some people need it more often than others. But we're wired to be in relationships. I've often said I don't believe a community is whole and healthy until every member of the community has the opportunity to contribute. And I say it that way because some people will choose not to, and that's okay. We do lose out. But if we also segregate, if we marginalize, if we push people out of community, we lose out on whatever it is they were going to offer. Because I can't offer what you offer. I can't offer what a gentleman I work with that provides a lot of our artistic stuff that we use, logos and things. His name's Hunter. I can't provide what Hunter provides. It's not my skill set. But I'd lose out if I didn't have Hunter in my circle. And I truly believe that about community. And you can see it. You can see where communities really blossom when they bring everybody in. And everybody contributes as they feel comfortable to do so. But if you're not allowed, if it's like your contribution isn't wanted, desired, or welcomed, then everybody loses.
Many words of wisdom in that little nugget, especially like when I think of nonprofits. A healthy nonprofit shows a healthy society.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm seeing for you is you're taking it that step even further, more micro, is every individual that is connecting and able to contribute or willing to contribute builds that society, and that it's not the us then, it's the we.
We
Or
is a
instead,
powerful word, right? I mean,
yeah,
you look at some of our founding documents as a country, right? As a nation, as a culture of people, we the people, right? I mean, now we don't always live up to it, but we have set ourselves the goal and the standard. We've said this is who we want to be. So
yeah.
at least we know what our goal is. You know, if you're bouncing around in the dark trying to figure out what you want to be, it's very difficult, but we know what we want to be. We want to be a country, a community of we. And I think that's a noble goal. And so I've said about my part, right? I can only contribute my part, which is to be part of an organization to lead people who are passionate about, because like everything we do is in community. Like I have office buildings, just only back, sort of support stuff happens there. HR, finance, admin, IT, me. What we do, the magic, the juice of what we do is all out in community. People are out where they live, work, play, engage, whether it's at parks, whether it's at their job, whether it's grocery shopping. But we don't gather except for to celebrate, honestly, that we do have an advocacy committee, a bunch of folks that they use our space because I have it and I make it available to them, but they meet and plan what they're going to do in the community for themselves.
Yeah, I'd love to know a little bit about your structure. I mean, there's the three entities, but how big are you? How do you guys connect? Do you have three board of directors, or three boards, or how's that all fit?
Yeah. I like to say like all the complex stuff goes off behind the scenes so that we provide what we promise to provide. So yes, there are three boards of directors, and I answer to all of them, so it keeps me busy. But the structure is such that the main company is about 775 employees throughout California, all the way northern and southern California. Right now I'm working on what I call filling the hole in the donut, is in that central California, kind of Stockton, Modesto area. I'm looking to plant some offices, do some more service work there, bring what we do to that area. But we've got offices we have offices in, nine offices in Southern California, Kern, and then in the Northern California, San Jose, Santa Clara, and out near Monterey, Salinas, Santa Cruz area. But again, so you can see there's that missing kind of middle. I want to bring some of us there, either acquisition. Right, there are some smaller organizations that are doing great work, but being a nonprofit is very, very difficult in these times. Or planting an office and growing organically. But we've been doing this, like I said, for about 50 years. Right now, we're about a $40 million organization. Got like I said, 775 employees. We're serving and supporting folks, probably between 615, 630 people throughout the state.
That's great. That's much bigger than I expected. And California, especially when you're talking about housing and things like that, that's no small feat.
No, it's challenging. It's challenging. But you know what I've come to find in this process, while it takes a while to find the right property in the right place and the right seller, I have found these right sellers that are like, wait, you're going to do what with this? oh, I like that. Like, and their reaction to what we're doing and their desire to want to engage with us in the process and a little bit more willing to negotiate on certain things. Now, some people, it's okay, it's a business, I get it, no problem. But we have connected with some sellers of properties that are like, well, this is different. I like this, what you're going to do. And that really is neat because it's like, you know that there's that pebble in the pond kind of effect that whoever that person is, right, is when they're done, they have like a positive feeling about it, and they'll tell people, yeah, you know what, I sold, remember that building I had on such and such, I sold it to this organization that's doing this. And the people are like, really? You know, and it just creates this, like you said, not a sequestering, no shaming, but instead, because we have plenty of that in the communities and on social media, what we need to do is celebrate one another, because again, we all have something unique. We all need support in some way, and we all contribute in some way. And I think that by embracing all of that is unique and creative and beautiful about being human, and we've got a lot, right? I mean, there's a lot of things. We are capable, obviously, we know we're capable of some pretty horrendous things, but we're also capable of some pretty incredible beauty. When you see that happen, and then you want to know that person, you know, whether that artist is someone on the autism spectrum, right? Or that I have on my board, I have a gentleman who is a public speaker. He's done a TEDx, and you know, he's toured the country, and he has cerebral palsy. And people go, wait, what? And you're like, yeah, and I can't be him. I can't contribute what he can. But I love bringing him into different spheres of influence and saying, you need to know this guy. It's going to change your life. You know, just listening to him. And there are a lot of people like that we just don't get the chance to listen to, but spending some time with them can change your life.
Where are you finding rub spots? Like where do you see your challenges?
I think it's changed over time, but there's always been the challenge of finance, right? That paying for what we need to do, right? Where's that money going to come from? That's never going to go away. So I'm not going to really spend a lot of time on that because it is what it is. It's part of being a nonprofit. It's come and gone. One of the cool things about California, we are the only state in the union, the other 49 don't have this, that we actually made it an entitlement. It passed the Lanterman Act back in the 70s where it said that if you are diagnosed with one of these developmental disabilities, that you are entitled to services. And they haven't always put the funding behind it that goes with that, yay. But it is a thing we can keep bringing to the table going, guys, this is the law. You said so. So you got to put the money behind it. In some ways it's gotten better, in some ways it hasn't in that way. I also think what's changed is it used to be, you know, the mindset of the community. And I don't fault community for that, right? I don't fault people for not knowing what someone hasn't taught them, right? I get mad at somebody because they don't know algebra. They never took an algebra class. Like, why would you do that? So we're changing the way we talk about people. And what that does, that ripple effect, right? That pebble in the pond kind of a thing, is it impacts a lot of communities. And I know if you get out on social media, everybody's angry about something. But when you get into relationship, when you get into real interaction with people I find are far more open, far more, oh, I didn't know that, right? Instead of taking it personally, like, oh, I've done something wrong, right? Or you're weird, you're different than me. Because different used to just freak people out. Well, the upside of social media is that you now have a window into the fact that the world is really different than you. So there is a positive there. And if we use that, we talk about difference as beauty. We talk about difference as creativity. If you've never had an experience with something different than you, then it is a little, I don't know about that. But if you spend time, California is great for that. We're a very, very diverse community. We're very, very, just a lot of, California is just unique in itself. You can't say I've never been exposed to and fill in the blank, because in California you're going to run into it somewhere. So right. That's really kind of fallen by the wayside too. I think the biggest challenge nowadays, I think that probably the headwinds nowadays is the sort of shifting priorities, right? When someone decides, hey, this is a priority, and I mean that at sort of the geopolitical level, which is, okay, now we're going to shift the money again. So it's constantly having to stay out in front and saying, no, what we do is critical, right? You wouldn't decide one day, you know what, this other thing's a priority, we're going to shut down the stock market. We don't need that anymore, right? I mean, come on, you wouldn't do some of these more, this is just as geopolitical. And in other countries, still in 2025, they're not as bring him to the middle, bring into the community those that are different. That's beginning to change. So like I don't think it's trying to change California as much as it used to be, or even the United States. I think it's now setting the stage and setting an example for other countries. Australia happens to be another one that is very inclusive and pulling people in. We've done a lot of interaction and work with folks in Australia as well. Work with a gentleman by the name of John O'White, who's the principal at Clarity Global consulting group, and they work a lot with schools and nonprofits in Australia, around the world, but a lot in Australia and in the United States in this space. When you're exchanging, well, what's working for you, what's working for us, and you begin to have more tools in your toolkit to keep it forefront. And the more it's out in the front, it almost it becomes less of a conversation. It's like, well, it just is. It just is. Great example is how you change the dialogue around people. We have a project that we work with called the Uniquely Abled Project, which is we train folks on CNC machines. That's computer numerically controlled machines. These are very, very expensive machines, very precise and very repetitive what they make. They make a lot of parts that go in airplanes, medical devices, things like that. Well, we've determined that over the course of time, kind of figured out that folks with autism are really good at this. I mean, this is a jam for them, and they enjoy it. It gets fulfilling, and they're doing something that serves community, and they're earning a great wage. So we created this program. We trained them. We had a company that we engaged with locally that's a machining firm, and we approached them, and the HR person's like, I've got this thing I want to do. The shop foreman was like, oh, heck no. I'm not doing that. That is a disaster in the making. So fast forward to today, about 6 years of this together with them. They've hired 18 people out of our program. We have improved their bottom line, and he goes out and does speaking gigs about how a company should be doing this. Yes. It's awesome. And it only came out of not any kind of malice. It was like, it's different. I don't know it. And my shop is, I got to keep this all in order. In fact, one of the folks that went through our program, I'll get two cool stories real fast. One of the folks that went through our program, I don't remember what the part was, but it was some kind of medical device. The average for the team at the time that he started on his 90-day sort of trial period was 8 an hour. The team was able to do 8 an hour each. But after 90 days, and they were sort of evaluating, now we're going to go ahead and give him a full-time gig. Whatever. His was 12. Just as precise, just as on point, meeting all specs. That's a 50% increase to that company's bottom line. They're like, what is your next cohort? And then a woman, a young lady that went through one of our cohorts has worked in a lot of different roles, different machines in that particular shop, is now their quality assurance person, that it doesn't go out the door until she signs off on it. That company is hanging their quality assurance hat on her. And they're like, of course we are. She's incredible. She knows what she's doing, right? That realization that people contribute uniquely in their way, and then recognizing how that contribution meets the needs of a community, business, social, whatever, it completely changes the conversation, and people stop using the other words and they start saying, my employees, my team, my quality assurance person, whatever it is. Now it's inclusive. And that's just like one, two great examples of hundreds of them.
Yeah, thank you for those stories, because it really encapsulates going from general to specific. It's interesting. If you had to hone down on what I coach about, is being able to see untapped potential in yourself. Whether it's you don't see it, you don't believe in it. And I feel like this is kind of doing on that, where it's the society's doing it, but also in yourself, right? To say it takes this untapped potential is not only giving the quality of life to that person, this untapped potential is helping that company, is helping that society. So I see where that is your mantra, is untapped, unknown, or underdeveloped potential is what a loss. And we all have it, right? Individually we have it.
Yeah.
But you've found a community of people who are the we. I know they have felt not understood.
Oh, for sure.
I have an ADHD autistic friend in my life, and will say, I've never been understood. People don't understand me. You don't understand how my brain works. You're allowing their brain not only to work the way it's supposed to, but exposing it to the value that it has.
Yeah,
So,
and when you see someone able to do something, like if you're, especially if you're in a role of leadership, and then you see someone in your organization, one way or another, right, that has something, can do something that you can't do, you're like, okay, I'm responsible for leading this organization. If you have the proper humility as a leader, because I think that is one of the most critical things to have as a leader. You can have all kinds of things, but if you don't have humility, it's not going to go well. If you have the humility to recognize, I can't, but that person can, and my organization needs it, then you nurture it. And any good leader of that is worth having in the role better be surrounding themselves with people who are smarter than them. That's a powerful tool, because if you don't, then you've said, okay, everybody's got to be slightly less than me, and who knows what that even means, but let's just for argument's sake say that. Then you just cap the organization. And these other organizations that are open, like this machining shop, it's true. There'll be a person who experiences autism, who has a job at this company, who will make a tool that will literally save somebody's life in a surgery somewhere in the world, wherever that particular tool got shipped. So this person was part of the process that put that in the doctor's hands, that did, and it was like, when you think about that, it's precisely made, it meets all the specs, it's ready to go, and it was used to save someone's life. I think, why would you not want to be a part of that? Why would you not want a society that taps into every bit of every person and says, okay, here's what you're awesome at, let's do this together?
yeah.
I get a little
I
excited.
love your vision and passion, and it makes your purpose really clear.
Yeah.
You mentioned you have 700 employees in this. How do you keep a consistent message? How do you rally the troops?
I'm tremendously fortunate in that what we do, we keep it so clear, right? I believe this is one of the things I believe about leadership, is that talent attracts talent. And so you've got to advertise. You've got to make that talent public. When you have incredibly talented people who are fully sold out and committed to the mission of what we do, which is everything in community, right? It's supporting people to be embraced, included, and valued. Those people attract other people that want to do that. I've actually built a lot of things into our organization to support that. Everybody gets trained, including me. We all are trained the same way as a frontline, what we call DSP, a direct support professional, so that we experience that and what's expected. Even my CFO goes through that training, and gets it, has his renewals. I spend time, I create videos that I send out to the team, and, remind them of of what's going on, valuing them, what they're doing, and towards the mission. Our mission statement, and then we have 3 key results. Those are posted in every office. They're part of every conversation. They're even like the watermark of our meeting agendas. It's constantly around us. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What are we doing? What's the promise? Every conversation, every decision is through those lenses. Our key results are simple, and I want everybody to be able to go, I can contribute to that, right? Key result number 1 is 100% of the people we support will be living meaningful lives in the community, right out of mission. But you've got to understand that we're people serving people. I don't make widgets. So my key result number 2 is 100% of my employees will be feeling valued and supported in their role. And then key result number 3 is that outbound focus. So that Jay Nolan will be a demonstrated leader in providing customized service to support neurodiverse individuals in the community. So it's this measure of, are we nurturing the people that we're supposed to? Are we nurturing the people who do the nurturing? And are we nurturing the community with what we do? And that's how we measure ourselves. And that's a constant in front of us all the time. I'll tell you, our recruiters do it at the front door. They talk about our mission. They talk about what we do, and they tangibly tell candidates, this is what that looks like in real life. My recruiting process is a little slower than others. Yes, it can feel painful at the same time. But my turnover rate is half the national average, because we spend time on the front end. We actually have those people meet with the person they will support, because it's a direct relationship. So it isn't, I'm hiring a person, then I'm going to put a bunch of people with that person. No, I'm hiring someone to support someone, and they'll meet. And if that doesn't work, that's okay, right? We'll keep looking for that person. I know I can find you. I got plenty of openings. I know I can find you another role that is a better fit. So that's how we do it, right? And because we control our training, we do it ourselves internally. I have a training team that I love and just adore. That's the infusion of culture. So it's a constant reminder and bonding around our purpose.
So I want to underscore that because as a leader, I believe that you always have to start with values, and the values of the organization needs to resonate with your personal values. You even stated it's like people own it because that passion of what you're doing is so big. Another thing you said, because from values come the mission statement, right? Comes that vision. That vision is clear, no hesitation. People know it and it's in front of people. So a consistent, clear, easy to remember statement, nurturing this, nurturing this, nurturing this, that brings so much clarity. Really, the bigger the organization, the more clear you have to be on those key objectives.
Yes.
And then I love also what you said about having a slower on ramp. So often we push things through, or what happens a lot I see is people get hired and they don't get trained or developed leaders. In fact, I stepped out of my role for the sole purpose of coaching around developing leaders, equipping them and supporting them, finding their untapped potential, because that just, it doesn't happen. But I've
Right.
heard you talk about training videos, a slow on ramp, making sure that it's a good fit. So I would call those best practices, Edward, not to, boast on you, but
I've just come to find that if you keep that the main thing, and for us, it's people. And I've seen, and I've even been in organizations where, there's this fantastic, wonderful sounding mission statement, and it's 100% outbound focused. But what about the people you want to actualize that? You've got to nurture them too. And nothing's perfect. I got my goal, I've said personally, I've said two simple goals. They're pretty lofty, but before I leave, I want to be the provider of choice. There'll be a line out the door that I got to get my services from Jay Nolan. And I want to be the employer of choice. I want people to want to change careers just to work here. And again, those are lofty goals. But if I'm after them all the time, I will make progress. I will make a difference in the lives of my employees as well as the people we support. Because they're people too that have the needs for support, the needs for being valued, all of that. And that may be back to your question about one of the challenges. I think another challenge, and it's still present, is the devaluing of the role. Only recently did the Federal Labor Board break out the direct support professional as a separate labor code. It was looped in with a bunch of other stuff, which, similar doesn't mean the same. What we do is unique and important, and there is a skill set to it. There's an art to it, and it's relationship based. And that's what I talk about a lot. It's why I mentioned that the turnover rate isn't just because, oh, yay me. It's because this is relationship based. When it doesn't work, there's fallout from that. It hurts. I try to avoid that hurt as much as possible. I had a person who had cerebral palsy who was a supported individual, and then I hired as a consultant, wrote a piece about grief. Didn't know it was coming. And we were in a meeting, and she shared it. I had to turn my camera off for a minute because I'm kind of a softie. But she really hit me in my heart. And I asked for her permission to include that in my trainings from now on for the teams, to understand. Because I would rather you say, you know what, it's too much, I can't do this before you start. Doesn't make you a bad person. It just means this isn't the fit for you, and that's okay. Yeah. But I want you to know how important what you're doing and you step into it. And that's why everything I do is around my people. Yes, it's nonprofit. I do not pay as much as I would like to. I just can't. But I am about that, and I am really hard on all my vendors. I love them. My vendors are awesome. I want partners. I want to razor thin cut your margin, because everything I spend on other things, I'm not spending on my people. That's my greatest asset. Now, I want to give them tools, so I got to buy tools for them to to be able to use, whether it's technology tools or training or whatever that might be. But the lens through which I spend any money is the lens of my people. I think that's what generates that feeling that they're part of something bigger. You can say blah, blah, blah about the mission, but if you don't back it up with action, people are going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I've worked for companies like this before. I'll be here for a little while until I find the next one.
Yeah. Think about if every company, for profit and nonprofit, had that people first mentality, how different society would be. How really we have this weird mindset that if you're for people, then you're against profit, right? Or,
I know
and
it
it's
makes no
such a
sense.
skewed mindset
It's
because you
terrible.
talked about retention, and retention, there's a cost in
Huge.
turnover.
I do a presentation. I've done it in a couple of places, a couple of national conferences about that, and I throw up some big numbers that are, they start out relatively like, yeah, that's about what I spend on trade deal. Okay, here's your turnover rate. Bam, there's your number. And you see their eyes get like this here, and I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
I had a person come up to me afterwards say, how do I talk to my leadership about this? And I said, just do that. Steal my slide, plug your own numbers in. That'll do the job.
Yep.
She's like, thanks. It's true that I've told, like, when I walked into this role here at Jay Nolan 7 years ago, I told the team at that time, I said, we're going to run this organization with the head of a for-profit and the heart of a nonprofit. Because if we do that, we will prove that doing it right, ethically and morally and missionally right, you will see it's also good business. And that
Yes.
has proven to be the truth.
Speaking my language, Edward. Speaking my language. Hey, I have one last question. As you talked about caring for people, and we've talked about retention, one thing I see a lot is when we're caring for people, there tends to be potential of burnout and care fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
How does that fit with what you guys are doing?
That's a reality. You're absolutely right. There's that old adage, I've heard it a lot of different ways. You can't give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. Those are all very true. One of the things I've done, and I think that absolutely helps us as people, it helps me, is recognition and, acknowledgement of the work, the effort. I think that we as human beings need to be seen, need to be known that we're doing it, especially in an organization like mine that is spread out, it's dispersed throughout the state. So we actually, one of the tools I brought, fantastic, actually really affordable too, and also practices what they preach. This company acts with their own employees the same way that they, that their product helps you do. It's called a Wordco, and it's a simple platform. It's I would call it an intranet of appreciation, but it also has built into it a platform of points that you can then use to do things. I originally was looking for, I'm going to look for something to recognize milestones, the 5, 10, 20, which was really interesting at the time, because when I did that, I also found out I had to make sure I had it all planned out for 40 years of retention, because I had people just about to do that. I'm like, oh, we're doing something right. Let's tap into that and make sure we do it, more. But this platform, which, by the way, they just launched their native app, so it makes it even easier. But you can appreciate, you just, I'm going to do a shout out for my colleague here who just stepped in and did this great thing, or I saw him do this, made a break, whatever it is. Supervisors can do what's called a caught being awesome, and they recognize one of their staff, throw some points in their account, so they can. And this is connected to a lot of different things. They can go shopping on Amazon, they can get gift cards, all different kinds of things. We do it with our employee of the month, and everybody votes for that. We take all the shout outs and all the caught being awesome for the month. We look at that and say, is there a thing? Oh, wow, this person's really bam, there's the employee of the month. So the employee of the month, while it's picked by the leadership team, it's really comes out of what the employees are saying about their colleagues. So you begin to see this interaction, and people recognize each other. They see the value in saying something. I love it. There was a side effect I didn't see coming, to be honest, was a whole lot of employees shouting out their supervisors. My supervisor does this for me. My supervisor has helped me get, and I was like, I love it. Didn't actually see that one, just didn't occur to me. I love new things. And I'm like, wow. So I'll personally, because by the way, this is something that's just me, and it's a big company, so it's hard to do. But I read every single shout out, because it helps me know what's going on in the company, what people are saying about one another. I will sometimes take that same one, I will turn around and forward it to the supervisor. I was like, guys, this is just awesome. I love seeing this. So they know I saw it. And so it's almost like a double whammy. But also I'll take time sometimes to shout just directly to a supervisor, hey, I see what you're doing. I really appreciate it. What you did on this specific thing. Because everybody likes to hear, hey, you're awesome. Hey, you're a rock star. But there are times you've got to make it tangible. What are you talking about? I'm talking about when you stepped up and did this thing,
Yeah.
I know about it. I see you, and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And to wrap that up, we did that this year is our 50th anniversary. We all of our holiday parties. So we've had two so far in the regions, one more this week. We did like kind of a red carpet Oscars kind of a thing, and we gave out awards that looked like Oscars. But for each of the key results, how does someone who represents that, and everybody voted for them in that award co-platform. We had them do it. So the employees picked who gets those awards.
There's so much I could talk to you all day about this because the resonation, like you're bringing out the human side in not just the people you're serving, but you're bringing it out in the employees and in the leadership structure at every level, doing that and being, where you're putting money where your mouth is, right? Like you're reading those, you're passing it on. There's so much. I really am excited about what the next 50 years hold for you guys.
Me too.
If you had to summarize or kind of last words of wisdom for the people listening in, what would you want to share with us?
I would say that, I guess, two things. You lead people and you manage things. Don't mix those two up. That leading is leading people through change. Always. Doesn't matter what you do, what you think it is. You're leading people through change, and that takes listening.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Edward.
My pleasure.
I look forward to more conversations with you, and for every question I asked, I have about 10 more I could. So thank you for your time, and you have a good rest of your year.
Thank you so much.